Welcome. This is the Mindset Coach Lionel here, and this video is going to be a little bit different, but it's going to be a series of videos, and it has to do with how your behavior shapes your world. So I'll be talking about the six needs, psychological needs that we go through, or what's called the six human needs. And this has been spoken about, written about, but I believe I'm making the video because it's very, very important for you to know how this changes everything and in your world. So I'm hoping that you stick around for the length of the video. Try to make it to the point, concise, but like always, it makes sense, when you put all the parts together and you're able to enjoy the information, the content all the way through. So if you can do that, you'll get some golden nuggets. So let's start. As you know, every day we make decisions, certain decisions, and we take certain actions that come about as the result of how you think, you feel, and the habits that you have created over time. Now, most of the time, you probably don't give this decision or action a second thought. Perhaps you don't even question why you do what you do. And you know what? That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We need to filter out the details of our life and you shift and focus on what's most important. However, there is certain advantages of knowing and to understand what's motivate you to take a specific action or make a crucial decision, and that is where the six human needs come into the picture. Now, the six human needs are not classified as desires. What they are psychological needs that are constantly working on satisfying both your conscious and the unconscious level of your awareness. So the six human needs will influence your deepest motivation. And in the process is going to determine in what order you put the priority of your decisions and the actions throughout your daily life, monthly, yearly. But basically, this is how it goes. So in fact, every single day, you are unconsciously striving to meet these needs with different levels of success. Now, it happens to me. I observe and I see that happening all the time to a lot of people, whether it's family, friends, and so on. So now, what happens is when these needs are met at a high level, guess what happens? You experience this incredible state of happiness, joy, and fulfillment. Now, on the flip side, when these needs are not met in that level of satisfaction, you then tend to feel unfulfilled, dissatisfied, disappointment. However, because most of this happen at the unconscious level of awareness, you probably don't even realize why you're feeling miserable. So on the surface, your life seems okay. However, below the surface, you have this nagging feeling of being dissatisfied, and you don't know why. No matter what you do, you can go to a store and buy a new something that you don't even need, but for the moment, supposedly it's going to take care of some kind of need or satisfaction. But it doesn't seem to make you happy. And life just seems to be kind of dull and dreary. Oh. So, little do you realize that it all has to do with your 6 human needs. So, let's start with naming these 6 human needs. So let's take a quick look. Number 1 is the need of certainty. So here's when you are striving to experience this sense of comfort and gain this level of certainty in your life. So by being certain, this is going to help you minimize your stress of uncertainty and any anxiety. Now, the need for uncertainty is when you're striving for kind of a little variety and uncertainty in your life. This is when you are very adventure, like skydiving and doing all this cliff mountain or cliff. You start doing things that you're not certain about it, but you do it. In the process, when you start this need of uncertainty, somehow it's going to drive you, and it helps you relieve any boredom, any being predictable, because you start doing things that are not predictable, and any stagnation. So when you fulfill that need of uncertainty, those things go out of your life for that moment or whatever you're doing. Now, the need of significance, this is when you're striving to gain a sense of significance and importance in other people's eyes. So in here, your objective is to create a sense of identity. The next thing is the need for connection. This need, you want to make deep connection with people, and this is what relationship is about. You need that feeling to belong, to love, to be loved by others, to be understood. And that's a very strong need. Next thing is the need for growth. Here you are striving to learn, to experience. You want to grow mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in a variety of ways throughout your whole life. Finally, then, the sixth need will be the need for contribution. And this is when, after a while, you realize that you're striving to be a contributor and contribute in life to something greater than yourself. And this is when you start adding value to other people's life. For instance, people like myself, that are in coaching. 61 years old right now, and I've done many things. And you come to a point in time that you want to flip it, and you want to help those people that you see that they're having issues and certain pains, or they're not clear about what they want to do in life, and they just need a little bit of assistance, some help. Not that you're going to be doing the work for them, but you're going to be coaching, helping them find the answers and get into that line and path that they actually want to be, but they don't know how to do. So right now, the process of me doing these YouTube videos and talking about self-development concepts, ideas, things that can be utilized for people that are interested and they actually want to grow and change. For me, it's a form of contribution. I'm adding value to those people that are able to find me in YouTube, click on a video, and learn some of the things that I'm sharing as other people are doing currently in this world. So, moving on from this 16s, there's kind of like four classes or divisions within a behavior. And, habits that you partake in, the actions that you take, the emotions that you experience, the addictions that you indulge. It can all be classified into four distinct classes of kinds of behavior. So when you understand these classes of behavior is critical, as they will help you gather valuable insights into your motivation and your psychological tendency. Now, it is important to know that every decision that you make in behavior you indulge stems from either the pain and pleasure principle. And this principle states that you will make decisions based on the avoidance of pain, and you want to avoid pain at all costs, or the promise of pleasure. So the pain and pleasure principle has a push and a pull effect. On the other hand, you might be making decisions that push you away from the negative consequences that might cause you pain. On the flip side, you make decisions that will pull you toward an outcome that's going to help you experience pleasure. Now, this is very straightforward, on the surface, but it can get a little bit complicated. So, an example would be, for instance, you have a big project or something that you're doing, and it's due, you want to complete it within, let's say, 4 weeks. Now, 4 weeks seems to be a long time for you to complete this project. Probably, right? So in the beginning, you don't start worrying about it. And instead, because you got the 4 weeks, you start socializing, you watch some movies, maybe you binge on some shows on the television. Now, and all these things are behaviors and choices that you're making. And they all come from the pleasure experience. But what they happen is they are more like instant gratification traps. So at the same time that you're trying to work on this project, somewhat painful and challenging, you know that you're trying to avoid the pain of working on the project. So you do those things, this instant gratification traps, which are short-term pleasure of the moment to avoid the pain. So over the next 3 weeks, you continue to now avoid the pain of completing that project, and you keep somehow indulging in those pleasure activities. But something happens. The closer you get to the deadline, now suddenly the more on the edge you begin to feel. So it appears though that the pain of not getting the project done is now growing more intense and more significant, because even though in your mind you said you have this 4 weeks to complete the project, you took it easy. Instead of focusing and putting certain priorities, you know that the pain that goes into the process of developing and concluding this project. So you did the instant gratification traps. Now the time has come that you have to produce this project, and you're so far behind. So, as you can see, this experience of socializing and watching the movies is no longer that reliable motivator that has been the first week or second week or third. Now the pain of not completing the project on that time that was specified start now putting pressure on you, and is heavily now in your mind. So you are now therefore no longer motivated by the short-term pleasure, but rather by the long-term pain you will experience if you don't get to complete this project. So given all this, you finally make a decision to begin working on the project. And this is just an example as to how people start experiencing the short-term and long-term pain versus the pleasure. It's a combination of things. So the first number one class of behavior will be a behavior that is characteristically ruled by the actions that concurrently lead to both the short and short-term pleasure, like short and long at the same time. So this behavior will be like, feeling good. You're good for this, or good for others. I serve the greater good. So self-sacrifice and the act of giving love to another person both falls into this class 1 type of behavior. The class number 2 now is the number one thing is the short-term pain is leading to the long-term pleasure. So you might say, no, I don't feel good. And are you good for you? Are you good for others? Does this serve a greater good? So in the behavior on class number 2, what happens is that it doesn't feel good in the short term, certain things. So in fact, you will experience a lot of pain on level 2. And that pain is always worthwhile because it serves the greater good overall, and it's going to help you push, to the gain long-term pleasure. Now, on class number 3 behavior, what happens is typically the short-term pleasure now often is the result of the long-term pain. And this is what we call in the class 3 the self-sabotaging behavior. It feels good. It's not good for you. It's not good for others. Does not deserve the greater good. So now, in this self-sabotaging, this is when you have the overeating, the binge of drinking, excessive television, procrastination. Now all these fall under this category because all these things feel good and pleasure in the short term. However, they all have a painful long-term consequences that you will experience at some point in the future. So now we move to the last class, class 4. And this is number one characteristic is by short and long-term pain. This is also a self-sabotaging behavior. Example, it doesn't feel good. It's not good for you. It's not good for others. It doesn't serve the greater good. Suddenly now you get the emotions of stress, worry, anger. All are typical examples that falls into this category. Because staying in a bad relationship or career are two decisions that also reflect this class of behavior. So when you're indulging in this class 4 behavior, what it means is that you're choosing to experience all this short-term pain in order to experience even more long-term pain in the future. And that doesn't even make sense. So an example is when you're angry, you're hurting yourself. And by losing your temper, you look even worse. Not only does this put you on the edge emotionally, but it's also going to damage your relationship and your health. So in this example, you're choosing the short-term pain to subsequently experience more pain in the future. Again, it doesn't make sense rationally. However, this is a typical class of behavior that we tend to indulge more times than we care to admit. And when you look at all these classes of behavior, what does it mean? What does this mean? Going forward. Moving forward. Excuse me. Well, if you isolate, without taking the 6 human needs into consideration, these 4 classes of behavior provide you with the key insights into your decision-making process. So instead of just making decisions unconsciously, you now can choose what to do or start focusing on based on the consequences of the pain and pleasure principle. So the right thing to do is always make a decision that's going to be coming from a class 1 or class 2 behavior. Because these behaviors typically will lead you to a long-term pleasure. That's why I said class 1, class 2, class 3, and 4. So you want to be more leading with class 1 and 2. Okay? So you want to avoid the traps of class 3 behavior. This is the kind of behavior that feels good on the surface, meaning short-term principle and pleasure. However, the long-term consequences are rarely, if ever, a pleasure. Most of the time will be more of a long-term pain. Okay? You need to understand how all this integrates. So these 6 human needs are built upon your motivations. And these motivations influence the decision that you make. Therefore, you lead to certain and specific behavior you tend to indulge in. So some of the behaviors that will be in a category of class 1 and 2, and some of your behaviors will be classified in class 3 and 4. Therefore, some of them will be good for you, while others will cause you the pain. So in the end, the whole purpose of this process is to help you transform your behavior in an optimal way to help you find more happiness and fulfillment in life. And this is all possible when you begin to understand the 6 human needs. So this is part 1 of about 7 parts in a series, because now on the next video I'll be talking more of breaking down these 6 human needs. So it's going to be built upon, so it will all make sense by video number 7. I hope that you gain some insights, and this is just the beginning. And if you stay for the duration of the video, thank you so much. Right now, I'm going to be putting the description below this video, and perhaps a little something that you can click. If you notice by now, I help coaches. I'm more into, as a coach, I notice that I'm helping other coaches flourish in their business and consultants and so on. And I found out an area that I've been successful and found a fun way of doing is helping coaches and consultants navigate in the area of sales. A lot of us coaches, they wanna, we're here to help people, and a lot of the coaches that I speak to that shy away from learning how to market, and you talk about sales, and right away they're like, "Oh, I don't like that." Well, it doesn't have to be that way. So right now I have a webinar that I put together that kind of helps you with some pointers on the situation of sales, being able to have more fun, be able to close your prospective clients in a nice conversation way that doesn't feel like selling. So if you're interested, just click, register, and watch the video. Actually, the webinar. So thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, subscribe, because there's going to be more coming in. And if you like it, thumbs up. Until next time, be well, stay safe. Ciao.